Well, JD, welcome to another edition of the Bones of Advertising. I'm still Craig, not Sean Connery. I'm still Craig McLeod, and you, of course, are.
I'm still waiting for lockdown to finish.
Right.
I am.
It started again. So from today, I'm going to refer to you as Waiting. Your first name Waiting and last name for lockdown to finish.
That's right. Yeah. It's an old Lithuanian name. Very, very proud, very proud history and heritage. We've got the waiting for lockdown to finish. The Duke of waiting for lockdown to finish.
Right.
Came out on a boat a long, long time ago, and we were landed gentry until the first lockdown in 1918 with the Spanish flu, and then
was it too?
Yes. Yeah. We had
also impacted by tuberculosis. I understand.
Yes. And the great typhoid epidemic of 1957.
Yeah. Well, I think the plague got you old kids as well too, didn't it? So here we are. Do you have a bone for us today, JD?
I have just a little bone to pick. I'd like to pick the bone of optimism. Optimism, I think, is something that's lacking in many businesses, and I think it is the role of people in businesses like ours who support other businesses to go in and just give them a little bit of something to smile about. So, I think I think especially at a time like this, I think especially at going into second lockdown. So second lockdown 2.0. Yes,
lockdown 2.0. Brought to you by the Lockdown Brothers.
Yes, it's the new normal, and then it's the new normal, and then
the new abnormal. That's kind of what I feel like.
Oh, I like that.
Abnormal.
Yes, let's call it the new abnormal.
Let's do that. Let's indeed do that. But one thing I love about you, JD, and it is you are what I call glass half full kind of guy. Every time you are in front of the microphone, as you are now, or chatting with clients, you are just Mr. Positivity. And I love that. And you're right. It is our job as creatives and marketers and advertising people to add a little bit of sparkle, a little magic, just a little bing to sound effect.
We'll cue that. We'll put that in later. We'll airbrush that little bing.
I need a bit of airbrushing too, my boy, I tell you.
Yes. We'll just draw little stars all over the place and let it's all things are possible. I used to have a nickname. My nickname amongst a certain very deeply disturbed section of the community, about 3 people really, was Silver. My nickname was Silver Linings.
Silver Linings.
I used to have a capacity for seeing the silver lining and not the cloud.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. I think that's quite apt. I'm comfortable with that too. That's very much how I'd assess you. But I think at the moment you've got people going into lockdown 2.0 who are worried, and particularly those in the hospitality space, those that are working in that area that, like gyms, all of these spaces that were allowed to start to bring back people. I think, and I'm not exactly sure on the facts, but if they're back down to only 10 people within their businesses, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to be able to continue. But it's up to us to add that little bit of positivity and potentially start to talk to them about, because we did this the first time around, but again, raising those opportunities to really start to cultivate some content yourself, because if you don't, you'll find yourself back out the other side. And I feel like we're repeating episode 1 or 2, whichever one we talked about it last time, but it really is about cultivating that positivity, putting your energy into yourself, putting your energy into your business, crafting some content, getting it out across all of those mediums you possibly can, and watching and benefiting down the track. And some of them will struggle, but I do, as you say, I think it's really up to us to add a little bit of sparkle.
Yeah. I think there's a fantastic. I don't mean to be all silver linings on you, but I'm going to be. I think there's a magnificent opportunity. I think the hard bit is actually just getting past that kind of. We've just been smacked in the face. We've just been it's lockdown 2.0. Remember that scene, that awful scene in it was the movie about I Can Stand a Turner. What's Love Got to Do with It?
Yeah.
and there's that scene where she falls behind the couch, and then all you see is Ike just going. And it was awful.
Terrible.
But I reckon there's a lot of people that's just feeling a little bit like that's how life is kind of. It's just hitting you at the moment. Like you get up and then there's bang, and you get up and bang.
And I reckon the key is to not watch much news as well, because you've got all of these other states shaming Victoria at the moment. And I think that what they've got to understand as well is it's not our fault. It's not as though we did something that we shouldn't have done to be able to get here. But I think
we did. You and I both know that all of Victoria got together and we had a little meeting. We had a meeting and we decided, fuck the rest of Australia. We're gonna infect you all.
We're going to be COVID capital.
Yeah. We can blame backpackers. We can blame little old ladies
in hotels.
Yeah, we're going to sneak it and we're going to ruin the economy because that's what we do in Victoria.
No, generally in Victoria we normally just take all the sporting events, or all the good ones, all the ones that are worthwhile. But you're right, and I watched Dan Andrews today talk about. So particularly if you're watching this week in the future, you'll know that 478 cases is when we actually recorded it. But I watched him scrambling, and I really feel for him because, in my opinion, he's a ripper. He's he's a good guy trying to do good things for Victorians. What I did like was the PM being challenged by all these morons on the TV, all these pretend journalists saying, surely you've got to say Dan Andrews has done something. And the PM, perfect as can be, comes back and says, I'm not worried about what's happened. I'm worried about how I can help right now, because this is a crisis. Stop trying to sensationalise what's gone on. All I care about is giving Dan as much support. And I thought to myself, I think these two blokes are actually in the right spot, doing the right thing by us right now.
I keep getting asked last week, do you think Dan Andrews, and they're signalling out Dan Andrews because, as we know, Victoria has decided to infect the rest of the world. But just everyone, I fielded 4 phone calls from people, 5 phone calls from people. Just, what do you think? How do you think Dan Andrews has been doing? I think Dan Andrews has been handed a shit sandwich, is what I think.
Oh, more than a shit sandwich. It's been a shit salad, mate, and a main course.
Shit salad. just with a sprinkle of oregano on top.
Just with a touch of parmesan and maybe just a smither of olive oil just to keep it nice and shiny.
Oh, is that cheese?
It's a bit nutty too, my boy.
The leaders of all of the states are all trying to do their very best. Like, it's not like anyone gets up in the morning and says, right, how do we stuff up Australia today? Like, it just...
Let's fuck shit up.
Let's fuck shit up. How do I do that?
It's not what we do.
Yeah. So if you apply that same thing here, like Dave had, you think Dan Andrews, I don't think he's probably had a night's sleep since the whole thing started.
He looked okay this morning, but the other days he looked cooked. He was copying it left, right and centre. And I tell you, today he stood there and he actually looked good, looked better.
Yep.
I feel for him and his family.
It's like that, remember that scene in Ali, where he's getting, when it's
Ali,
and he's getting smashed by George Foreman. He's just holding his hand like that. And all you can hear is that the best you got, George? Is that the best you got?
Yeah, right.
That's pretty Dan Andrews at the moment. Is that the best you got?
Yeah, he is. He's really copping it left, right and centre. But back to the business, and I guess the business of creativity and ideation and advertising. Back
to the serious bit. Hang back.
And we're back now. I'm back with you now with John Douglas, and we're talking advertising.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. Hi there. Great. Glad you could join us.
Yeah.
But no, back to what we're talking about. I think
smooth, very smooth segue. That very, very smooth. I love it. Carry on.
There'll be one day when I get to do when I retire, I want to be a race caller. Don't you know that? So, and coming down the outside now, you've got John Douglas moving up inside Craig McLeod on the inside of the black car moving on. I can't wait, JD. That's going to be what I want to do. I want to be that guy. You know, I've got the passion for it. But back to advertising. I keep getting sidetracked, and it's by you. It's your fault. Let's have an argument.
That's my special skill. Yeah, here's a little rabbit hole. Let's just disappear down.
Dive on in and woo. It's going to be like a Seinfeld episode. People will watch this one and go, you know what? They actually didn't talk about anything. They just talk shit the whole time.
Victory, finally.
But back to advertising. I think there's so many opportunities that can be explored. Now, I'm not saying they're all right for all businesses, but I really do say, and I think you probably read the same Marketing Week article that Ritson put out there at the moment, talking about, you know, the yoga instructor that comes into his house, and he has, you know, all sorts of visions of his wife and the right yoga. But the whole idea and the premise behind it is really around looking at how you can digitalify your business. What is it that you can do to take your potentially offline business online? And what is it you can do to really help that? So in the instance of the yoga instructor, no longer is able to come to all of the homes and do the yoga instruction one-to-one. So of course, what does he do? He does a Zoom yoga session. But he's been able to adapt his business and continue. So I think it's really about this second time for those who didn't pivot, who really hurt. And again, I'm not talking hospitality because, you know, they are really hurting, and I'm sure they're doing everything they can to try and sell. Yeah, I mean, they're getting, you know, what is it, George Mayweather? Is that who he fought?
George Foreman. George Foreman was hitting Ali. Just
our friends in hospitality are getting absolutely the stuffing punched out of them right now. But the only thing that they can really do is turn to that digital play and try and do those online orders and work with some of those delivery vehicles, you know, and hopefully they come to the party on the costs associated with all of that as well, because that was really hurting them as well. You know, they're paying more for deliveries than they are, and they're getting profit on the food that they're serving. So the point being, you've got to start to think about, as I said earlier, the content, but looking at that digital play. How do you digitally transform your business to be able to cope for this next 6 weeks? Because we don't want to see any business go to the wall, which is why we're so grateful for JobKeeper. And I'm hearing people saying, oh, you can't get people to work because job seeker is more than what they'd be making if they're on part-time wages. We've got to get people out of that mindset. People have to work. You have to want a job.
Yeah, indeed. The people that the people who want to work, and the people, I sound like an old right-wing curmudgeon. The people who want to work should be able to work. You know, it's these bloody dodgers. They're the ones.
Yeah, but you're right. I couldn't agree more.
I think the getting back to the original point.
I was just pointing it. I was
going to claw my way back to the start of the conversation, if I could. Funny hole that we found ourselves in. But I think the hard bit is at the start of lockdown 1.0, it was that sense that we had to do it all on our own. Like there wasn't a community of people who were available to try and help us get through what we needed to get through. And it worked. Like the whole strategy of reaching out and finding like-minded people and businesses helping other businesses, communities helping other communities worked.
Yeah.
And then we went out and, you know, things turned to custard, but that doesn't say that the original strategy
was wrong.
It's not going to work again.
Yep, correct.
We've just got to find the energy. Come on, we can do it. We've just got to find the energy to go back to that place and go, okay, so what was that great line from the Rudyard Kipling, the poem If? And if you get a chance, children, have a look at that online. They're great. If you can keep your head while all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, brilliant. But one of them is if you can bear to see the world you've created broken and stoop and build it up with worn out tools. There's a great message in there about if you have to do it again, then if you like what you're doing, we'll do it again. And there'll be idiots like you and me who are prepared to help people who want to get ahead. Yep. And if it's only by putting stupidity onto YouTube as we do, then that's what we'll bloody do.
And by God, we'll do that, and we'll do it every single week. We'll continue to do it. So if anyone out there is being entertained by the bones of advertising, give us a shout out or tell us we're morons. Both are fantastic in our book.
Indeed. Well, indeed.
JD,
and from this moron.
That moron is absolutely fine. It's this moron that's the moron. Anyway, we'll call that another edition of the Bones of Advertising. I'll see you next week.
You will. I will see you next week.
I look forward to it.
Online.